Evan walked through the dark spaceport alley with slow steps, trying to avoid the broken pipes, the metal cans, and the strange smell rising from the vents. The night lights were dim and flickering, and most travelers had already gone to their ships. It was the kind of place where no one wanted to stay longer than needed. But Evan's shuttle was delayed, and he had no choice but to wait. As he reached the middle of the alley, he heard something. A soft sound, almost like a tiny breath, almost like someone trying not to cry. He stopped and looked around. Nothing moved, only shadows. He took one more step, and then he heard it again, this time a weak voice, so soft that he almost thought it was his imagination. "Please, don't go." Evan turned sharply. The voice was coming from behind a stack of broken crates. He slowly walked closer. The shadows shifted. Something small hid there, pressed tightly against the wall. He crouched down and whispered, "Hello. Is someone there? Are you hurt?" A pair of glowing blue eyes stared back at him. It was a little alien girl. She looked no older than 7 or 8 in human years. Her skin was pale silver, her hair thin and white like threads of light. She wore a torn cloak, and her hands were shaking so much that the small metal pendant she held made a faint clinking sound. Evan raised his hands gently. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The little girl opened her mouth, hesitated, then whispered something so quiet that Evan had to lean in to hear it. "Please, act as my dad for one day." Evan froze. He didn't understand. Why would a small alien girl ask a stranger, especially a human, to be her father? Her voice had no demand, no trick, no scheme. It was pure fear, pure desperation. Like asking was the only hope she had left. "Why?" he asked softly. The girl did not answer. She only looked at him with wide eyes, eyes full of something he could not explain, terror, sadness, and a silent plea. Her hands gripped her pendant tighter, almost like she was afraid someone would take it from her. Suddenly, Evan noticed something behind them. A shadow, a movement. Someone was watching them from the far end of the alley. The figure stepped back into the darkness as soon as Evan looked up. His heartbeat quickened. Whoever that person was, they were not just passing by. They were searching. And the girl seemed to know it because she shrank even further behind him, trembling, hiding like he was already her shelter. Evan looked down at her again. "Are you running from someone?" She nodded slowly but still said nothing. Another shadow shifted at the end of the alley. Evan realized the danger was real and close, very close. He had a choice now. Walk away and leave the girl alone, or stand between her and whoever was hunting her. The girl whispered again, voice breaking this time. "Please, just one day. Pretend to be my dad. They won't take me if you do." That sentence hit him hardest of all. Not because of the fear, but because she believed a human standing beside her would protect her. Evan took a deep breath. He knew nothing about this child, nothing about her world, nothing about the threat. But he knew one thing very clearly. She was alone, scared, and moments away from being taken. He slowly reached out his hand. "Come on," he said. "For today, I'll stay." The girl's eyes widened with a tiny spark of hope. She placed her small hand in his. Behind them, the shadow moved again. And the real danger began. Evan walked out of the alley with the little alien girl holding his hand tightly, her fingers cold and shaking. She stayed close to him, almost hiding behind his arm with every step. The bright lights of the main port hit her face, and she winced like she was not used to open places anymore. Evan kept his pace slow so she would not panic. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then whispered, "Leary." It was the first real word she had spoken besides begging him to act like her father. Evan smiled softly. That's a beautiful name. She didn't smile back. Her eyes kept moving everywhere, scanning every person, every corner, every door. Anyone who walked too close made her flinch. Anyone who looked in their direction made her hide behind Evan, gripping his sleeve like someone might snatch her away. Evan noticed it all. This wasn't normal fear. This was the fear of someone who had been hunted for days. He took her to a food stall, hoping warm food might calm her. But when the vendor leaned forward to take the order, Leary instantly stepped back, her breathing sharp and uneven. She shook her head so fast that Evan had to place a hand on her shoulder to help her steady. "It's okay," he whispered. "He's not here to hurt you." She forced herself to stand still, but her eyes were still full of panic. Evan ordered simple soup and bread. When the food came, Leary grabbed the bowl with both hands and started eating in small, fast bites, afraid someone might take it away. Evan watched in silence. She wasn't starving. She was scared. Every movement she made told the same story. She had not felt safe for a very long time as they sat. Evan noticed two men wearing dark jackets walking slowly across the port. Their eyes were sharp, scanning the crowd like predators searching for a target. One of them checked a glowing device in his hand. The device beeped faintly. It was a tracker. Evan felt a chill run through his body. He didn't know exactly who they were searching for, but he knew they weren't normal travelers. Their movement was too coordinated. Their faces too focused. Their search too careful. And the way Leary suddenly lowered her head, hiding her face with her cloak, made everything clear. She knew them. Evan leaned down. "Leary," he whispered, "are they looking for you?" She squeezed her pendant tightly and nodded once. A small, terrified nod. Evan's stomach twisted. He didn't know this child, but someone wanted her captured badly. And the fact she trusted a complete human stranger over them said everything about her situation. "Why are they after you?" he asked. Leary's voice trembled. "I can't tell here." "They will hear. They always hear." Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. The tracker beeped again. The two men turned their heads. Their eyes slowly moved across the crowd, then stopped near the area where Evan and Leary sat. Evan acted fast. He stood up, took Leary's hand, and whispered calmly, "We're leaving now. Stay close. Don't look back." She nodded quickly and held on to him like her life depended on it. They walked fast, but not too fast, blending into the crowd. Evan kept his body between Leary and the men, blocking her from sight. Leary kept her head down, her hands shaking. Behind them, the two men started moving. Slowly at first. Then, faster. Evan felt their steps closing in. He didn't know anything about being a dad, not even for one day. But right now, he knew exactly what to do. Protect the child who trusted him, even from enemies he didn't understand, even if danger was only just beginning. Asterisk. Evan moved quickly through the spaceport crowd. But he did not run. Running would draw attention. Walking too slowly would allow the hunters to catch up. So he kept a steady pace, guiding Leary with a firm but gentle hand. Her small steps tried to match his, but she kept stumbling because her legs were trembling. "Stay with me," Evan whispered. "I'm trying," Leary breathed, her voice breaking. Behind them, the two men in dark jackets pushed through the crowd with growing frustration. One of them tapped his device again. A red dot blinked on the screen. They were close. Too close. Evan turned a corner sharply and entered a narrow hallway between two port buildings. It was quieter here, with the loud noise of engines fading behind them. But quiet also meant danger. Leary's breathing became sharp and fast. "They know this path," she whispered. Evan paused. "How do you know?" Her answer came in a voice filled with fear. "I ran before." They followed the same way. That meant the hunters had chased her through these halls before. She already knew every corner where she had been trapped. A heavy step echoed behind them. Evan did not think. He grabbed Leary's hand tighter. Move. They rushed down the hallway. Leary's feet tapped quickly on the metal floor, almost slipping with each turn. Evan pulled her to the right and entered an old maintenance stairwell. The lights flickered. Cold air blew from the lower levels. Lir, I tugged his sleeve. They are very close. Evan listened. Footsteps. 2 sets. He lifted Leary in his arms. She was far lighter than a human child, but she wrapped her arms around his neck instantly. Hiding her face under his collar, "Hold on," he said. He ran down the stairs, his boots echoing sharply like a warning. Leary's small heart pounded against his chest. When they reached the bottom, he slipped through a rusted door that led into an abandoned corridor lined with old cargo containers. Evan shut the door softly behind them. For a moment, it was silence. Only Leary's uneven breathing filled the space. But then, bang. The hunters kicked the stairwell door open upstairs. Lir, I gasped. Evan placed a finger on her lips. We're okay. I promise. He didn't know if that promise was true. But he knew she needed to hear it. He walked deeper into the cargo corridor. It was dark, dusty, and smelled like old metal. Strange wires hung from the ceiling. Most of the containers hadn't been opened in years. Leary pointed with a shaking finger. We can hide here. Evan opened a container slowly. Inside was a small, empty space, dirty but safe enough. He placed Leary inside, then crouched in front of her. Listen to me. If anything happens, if anyone grabs me, you stay hidden, okay? Leary's eyes filled with tears. But you said you would protect me. Evan felt a stab in his chest. She trusted him too much, far too quickly. But he nodded. I will. I'm just making sure you stay safe. She held his hand with both of hers. Please don't leave me. Suddenly, the hunters' voices echoed in the corridor. Scanner shows the signal is here. Check every door. Evan's pulse quickened. He shut the container halfway, leaving a small crack so she could breathe. Leary watched him through the gap. Her glowing eyes full of fear, Evan stepped out quietly and moved behind a large metal pillar. He needed a plan. He couldn't fight armed hunters in a narrow corridor, and he couldn't let them open the container. One hunter walked past him. The other approached the exact container where Klee was hiding. Evan's muscles tightened. The hunter reached for the latch. Evan stepped forward. For one day. He had promised to act like her father, and now that day meant risking everything. Because Leary wasn't just afraid. She was being hunted, and Evan wasn't going to let anyone take her. Asterisk. Evan stepped out from behind the metal pillar the moment the hunter's hand touched the container latch. His heart pounded like a drum. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing to help him. But he had one thing the hunters did not: the will to protect a child who trusted him. Hey! Evan shouted. The hunter turned sharply. You again. Move aside. Evan held his ground. You're following a child. What do you want from her? The hunter smirked. It's none of your business, human. Step away. The second hunter moved in from behind, blocking the exit. They were not afraid of him. They didn't even hide their intentions. That made it worse, these men believed. They had full control. The first hunter reached for the container. Evan knew he had one chance. He grabbed a metal pipe lying beside the wall and swung it hard. The pipe crashed against the hunter's wrist, knocking the latch away. The hunter shouted in pain. You little. The other one charged forward. Evan blocked him with the pipe again, but the strike only slowed the alien down. The alien shoved Evan into the wall. His back hit the metal hard, and the pipe dropped from his hand. The hunter punched him in the stomach once, twice. Evan gasped for air. The first hunter grabbed him by the collar. "You should not have interfered. That girl is property. Property." Evan growled, struggling. "She belongs to the syndicate," the hunter said. "She escaped. We are retrieving her." Evan felt anger rising inside him like fire. "She's a child." "She is more than that," the hunter said coldly. "She is." A sudden, sharp sound cut him off. Clink, clink. The container door opened halfway. Evan's eyes widened. Leary stepped out, holding her pendant tightly against her chest, tears running down her cheeks. "Stop hurting him," she whispered. The hunters froze, but not because of her words, because the pendant she held began to glow. A soft blue light. Then stronger and stronger, until the entire corridor shimmered with its glow. The first hunter stepped back in shock. "What? That's impossible." Evan looked between Leary and the pendant. "Leary, what is that?" Leary's voice trembled. "My family's crest. The one thing they didn't take." The second hunter's face twisted. "She activated it. We need to alert the syndicate now." "No." Leary shouted, her voice suddenly deeper, echoing with a strange energy. The light from the pendant projected an image into the air. A symbol. A crest of a broken crown surrounded by 3 stars. Evan didn't recognize it, but the hunters instantly did. They bowed their heads without meaning to. She's the heir," one whispered. Evan blinked. "The what?" Leary looked at him with sad eyes. "I didn't tell you. Because you would leave me." "Tell me now," Evan said softly, even though pain throbbed in every part of his body. Leary took a shaky breath. "My family ruled the Starline clans, but the syndicate wanted control. They attacked us. My mother hid me and told me to run. She said I must survive." She looked at the hunters trembling on the floor. "They want me because I am the last. The last bloodline." Evan felt a chill move through him. The girl he carried through the port. The girl who ate soup like she had not eaten in days. The girl who begged him to act like her father. She wasn't just a scared child. She was an entire species' hope. The hunters slowly reached for their weapons again, their fear turning into desperation. Evan stepped between them and Leary. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't an elite fighter. He wasn't anyone special. But right now, he was the only one standing between this child and a fate she did not deserve. "Get behind me," Evan said. Leary grabbed his shirt. Because even after learning the truth, he still protected her. Even after knowing who she really was, she still trusted only him. The corridor shook with tension as Evan stepped in front of Leary. His body hurt from the punches. His breath was heavy and his hands trembled. But he didn't back away. The 2 hunters stared at him like he had lost his mind. A human protecting an alien heir. To them, it was almost amusing. "You won't win, human," one hunter growled. "She belongs to us. Step aside, and we won't kill you." Evan wiped the blood from his lip and stood straighter. "No, you're not taking her." The hunters exchanged looks, confused, irritated, and finally angry. The second hunter hissed, "Why? She isn't even your species." "She's a child," Evan said, his voice steady. "And she asked me to be her dad for a day. That's enough reason." Leary watched him with wide, trembling eyes. She had seen warriors fight for planets, for power, for treasure, but never for her. Never for a scared little girl hiding in a cargo corridor. The first hunter lunged. Evan reacted fast on with strength, but with instinct. He grabbed the fallen metal pipe from the ground and swung hard. The pipe clashed with the hunter's weapon, sparks flying. The hunter staggered, surprised that a human civilian had the courage to fight back. "You stubborn fool." The hunter shouted. The second hunter aimed a stun gun. Leary gasped. Evan pushed her back just as the shot fired. The beam hit the wall beside them, leaving a smoking mark. Evan's heart raced. One wrong move and either of them could be hit. The hunters moved fast. Evan wasn't trained, but he was desperate. He blocked, dodged, and swung with all the strength he had. Even when pain shot through his ribs, he refused to drop the pipe. Leary clutched her pendant, tears falling. "Stop, please stop." But the hunters didn't care about her voice. They wanted the reward. They wanted control. They wanted the last heir of the Starline clans. Evan ducked as a blade slashed past his head. He rammed his shoulder into the hunter's chest, surprising him enough to push him back. The second hunter growled, "You're wasting your life. She is nothing but a tool." Evan stepped in front of Leary again, shielding her. "Not to me." Leary covered her mouth, shocked. No one had ever spoken for her like that. No one had ever stood between her and danger, not even the guards her family once had. All of them had died trying. But Evan, a simple human, kept fighting even though he was bleeding, shaking, and barely standing. The first hunter rushed forward again. Evan blocked, but the impact knocked the pipe out of his hand. It flew across the floor with a loud metallic clang. Evan had nothing left now. The hunter raised the weapon to strike the final blow. Leary screamed, "Nitrogen monoxide." A burst of energy exploded from her pendant, bright blue and fierce. The shockwave knocked the hunters off their feet. They hit the wall and dropped their weapons. Stunned, Evan turned around in surprise. Leary stood there, her eyes glowing softly, her small body shaking from the force she had released. "I didn't want to hurt them," she whispered, "but they were hurting you." Evan touched her shoulder gently. "It's okay. You saved us." The hunters groaned, trying to stand again. Evan picked up their stun gun and pointed it at them. His hands were shaking, but his voice was firm. "Stay down." The hunters froze, fear finally showing in their eyes. Evan turned to Leary. "We need to leave now." Leary nodded quickly and grabbed his hand. "I'm sorry you got hurt." Evan smiled weakly. "That's what dads do, right? Protect their kids." Leary's eyes filled with warmth and heartbreak at the same time, because she knew. In that exact moment, Evan wasn't pretending anymore. He was her shield, her protector, her human father for more than just one day, and the galaxy would not forget what he did. Evan and Leary hurried through the abandoned cargo corridor, leaving the stunned hunters behind. Evan's ribs ached, his lip was bleeding, and his legs felt heavy. But he kept moving. He had to. Leary held his hand tightly, guiding him even though she was the small one. They reached an old lift at the end of the hallway. Evan pressed the button, but the panel flickered weakly. "Come on." "Come on," he whispered. Leary looked behind them nervously. "They won't stay down for long." Evan pushed the button again. The lift groaned, ancient gears grinding to life. The doors finally opened, and they stepped inside. The doors shut slowly, almost painfully, as the lift started moving upward. Evan leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. Leary climbed onto a crate so she could look at him straight. "You're hurt," she whispered. Evan gave her a weak smile. "I've had worse." It was a lie, and Leary knew it. Her tiny fingers gently touched his arm as if she could fix the pain just by wishing. Suddenly, the pendant around her neck flickered and cracked. A thin, glowing fracture split across its surface. "Lir," I gasped. No, please don't break." The soft blue light that once glowed steady now pulsed wildly. Evan pushed himself forward. "What's happening?" Leary held the pendant close to her heart. This pendant is not just a crest. It holds the last memory of my mother. Her voice, her message, her protection. If it breaks, I lose her." The lift lights dimmed for a moment. Evan watched the pendant carefully. "Is it dangerous?" Leary shook her head. "Not dangerous, but powerful. It's tied to my family's bloodline. Only heirs can activate it." Evan frowned. "That blast you released earlier. Did the pendant do that?" Leary hesitated. "It was me. But the pendant made it stronger. I don't know how to control it. When I get too scared, it reacts." Evan looked at her closely. She was terrified of hurting someone. Even those hunters who tried to take her, even though they hurt Evan. "You're doing your best," he said softly. "You protected me." The pendant flickered again. The crack grew wider, and a tiny piece chipped off, falling to the floor. Leary stared at it with trembling lips. "My mother gave this to me when I escaped," she whispered. "She said it would show me the truth when I was brave enough." "The truth about what?" Evan asked. Leary looked up at him, her eyes shining with a mixture of sadness and strength. "About why I survived. And what I must do." The lift suddenly jolted. Evan caught Leary before she fell. The lights flickered violently this time. The whole lift shook, then dash boom. The lift stopped. The emergency lights turned red. Evan looked up. They must have damaged the power lines while chasing us. A loud metallic clang echoed from the roof. Leary grabbed Evan's arm. "They're on top." Another clang. Another dot, then the sound of cutting metal. Evan pulled Leary behind him, standing like a shield again. "We'll find a way out," he said. "Stay behind me." Leary pressed her forehead against his back. "I'm sorry you have to protect me so much." Evan glanced down at her. "It's not your fault. And I'm not leaving you." Suddenly, the pendant burst with light again brighter than ever before. The crack expanded, and a hologram flickered above it. A woman's face formed soft features, silver skin like Leary, and kind eyes filled with sorrow. "L.I.R., I gasped. "Mom." The voice was faint, but gentle. "My little star. If you are hearing this, you are still alive." Leary covered her mouth. Tears slid down her cheeks. The hologram continued. "The Syndicate fears your future. They fear what our people become when led with kindness instead of cruelty. You must find the human with the heart of courage. He will be your protector, your guide." The hologram turned toward Evan as if it could see him. "And he will be the father you deserve." Tears filled Evan's eyes. The pendant dimmed, flickered once more, and shattered completely. Leary cried softly. But Evan pulled her close. "You're not alone," he whispered. "Not anymore." Above them, the hunters finally broke through the lift ceiling. But now everything was different. Liri was no longer just a scared child, and Evan was no longer just pretending to be her dad. Their bond had become real, and they were ready to face whatever came next. The roof of the lift was now a gaping hole. Sparks fell like burning rain as the hunters forced their way in. Evan stood in front of Leary with his arms spread wide, ready to take the hit himself if he had to. His body hurt, his legs trembled, and his breath was uneven, but his mind was clear. He was not letting anyone touch her. The hunters dropped through the opening, landing with heavy thuds. Their weapons glowed red, charged for the final capture. "She is coming with us," one growled. Evan shook his head. "Over my dead body." The hunters didn't hesitate. They raised their guns. Leary grabbed Evan's shirt, her voice breaking. "Don't die, please." Evan whispered, without turning around, "I'm right here. I'm not leaving." The hunters fired. Evan braced himself, but the shots never reached him. A blast of blue energy exploded from behind him, forming a glowing shield that blocked the attack. Leary stood there with her small hands raised, her eyes glowing bright like two burning stars. "I won't let you hurt him," she whispered, trembling but strong. The hunters staggered backward, shocked. Her power awakened fully. The shield flickered, then expanded, pushing them away. They hit the lift wall and dropped their weapons. For a moment, everything froze. Only Leary's breathing filled the silent lift. But the hunters were not done. They tried to rise again. Leary stepped forward. "Stop! You won't take me. You won't take my dad." The word dad made Evan inhale sharply. It hit him deeper than any punch he took earlier. She wasn't pretending anymore. This wasn't part of her plan to escape. This was real. The hunters reached for their backup blades. Evan moved fast. He grabbed a loose cable from the broken lift wall and swung it with force. It wrapped around a hunter's arm. Evan pulled hard, making the alien fall forward. The second hunter charged, but Leary released another burst of blue energy, pushing him back again. This time, the hunters did not get up. Evan leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Leary ran to him, hugging him tightly. "You saved me," she whispered. Evan held her back. "You saved me first." She looked up at him with teary eyes. "Are you still my dad? Even now?" Evan smiled softly through the pain. "Leary, I didn't protect you because you asked me for a day. I protected you because you needed someone, and I won't leave you. Not today. Not ever." Leary wrapped her arms around him again and cried into his chest, not out of fear, but relief. The lift lights flickered back to life. The emergency doors above opened to the upper platform. Evan lifted Leary in his arms and climbed out. The city lights of the spaceport shined bright in the distance. Authorities rushed in, but not Syndicate soldiers. These were Starline rebels who had been searching for the lost heir for months. When they saw Leary, they bowed deeply, recognizing her instantly. One of them, a tall alien woman, stepped forward. "Your Highness, we feared you were gone." Leary hid behind Evan. "I don't want a throne. I just want him." The rebels looked at Evan, confused but respectful. "If he protected you, he is family to us too." Evan held Leary's hand. "She's not going anywhere alone." The rebels nodded. "Then she won't." A shuttle arrived to take them to safety far from the Syndicate's reach. Leary looked at Evan again, fear gone, replaced with hope. "Dad, will you stay with me? Longer than one day?" Evan smiled, lifting her into his arms. "Yes, as long as you want." Leary hugged him tightly, her small voice soft but full of peace. "Then, forever." As the shuttle doors closed, the galaxy changed quietly. One scared little girl found her father, and one human showed the stars what HFY truly means. Human love is stronger than fear. Human courage is stronger than empires. And a human heart can save a whole species.